Woo. Hello everyone, my name is Mark. I'm fairly new to Montreal-Python. Actually, I only learned about this group last month when a friend suggested that I attend the meetings about gaming in Python. And the presentations were really nice, so that set the bar pretty high for me this week. And I also got to meet a bunch of really great people, and Derek in particular, who took the opportunity of asking if I could present this month. So I was really excited by the presentations and all, so he could have asked me to jump off a cliff, and that would have probably sounded like a good idea at the time. So a couple days later, when the excitement died down, I kind of wish he did. But then, a while later, I learned about the topic for the presentation this month. So inadvertent indentation, which is basically beer speak for using Python in unexpected ways. So I was really excited by that. I like the unexpected. And so I started thinking about the presentation I would do. And I was wondering, what if I used Pygame for the presentation instead of using slides? So that would be using Python in an unexpected way about using Python in an unexpected way. How's that? This is kind of recursive, and programmers like recursion. So I started working on the project, and having never used Pygame before, this proved to be a bit more complicated than expected. So the idea of the cliff came back again. But then finally this weekend I managed to get something working. So I'm pretty happy. I got excited, and now I'll get to show it to you. And as opposed to everyone else, I get to execute my presentation. So. On to the presentation. So, in order to describe how I've recently used Python in unexpected ways, I've decided to use a Launchpad results project. So, first I'll describe a bit. Well, first I need to move to the next slide. So, I just did that because I could. But I thought I would be pretty nervous, like oh no, like I hit them also, whatever. So first I'll describe what's Launchpad. Launchpad is a website to enable people, communities, to collaborate on open source software. So Launchpad itself is also open source, so it kind of uses itself to manage itself. This is kind of like a compiler compiling itself, a test suite testing itself, recursion again. You guys excited? So Launchpad is mostly known for managing bugs. So Launchpad has a lot of bugs across many open source projects in the community. Bugs mostly coming from the Ubuntu project, but about projects ranging from Firefox, OpenOffice, and all those projects. Launchpad also hosts code, not unlike GitHub. But Launchpad is a lot more than just tending to a developer audience. What I really admire and want to highlight in this presentation is that Launchpad tends to a very wide audience. So, for example, Launchpad has the concept of translations. So that people who are not developers, who are very good translators, can participate in the community and contribute translations so that people around the world can use software without having the barrier of learning English first. So I thought that's very admirable. Launchpad also has the concept of answers. So if a user happens to be an expert with particular software, they can answer questions from the community. And what's more is that, as opposed to forums, the answers on Launchpad are translatable, so that if the same question comes up in many languages, people have the opportunity of translating it and making it available to a wide audience. So there are a lot more features in Launchpad, but with what it's got, it's really awesome. Actually, I put like this monster truck just as proof that this thing is awesome. But it's also a good illustration of Launchpad itself, which is a honking big code base. So I wanted to make Launchpad even more awesomer. So that's why I tried to add results to Launchpad. However, since it's a big code base, I wanted to do this on the outside. So one thing that's missing from Launchpad is the concept of tests. So Launchpad has bugs, which I consider a kind of a measure of sickness. You only know what doesn't work, where it hurts. Whereas tests enable you to see what actually works. So it's kind of a measure of health of software. You know how well your software is doing. In order to implement this, I did this in what's called a microservice. So Launchpad, being a honking big code base, has learned from this experience, and this is probably something that you guys will encounter as well. You work on a project, people like it, they keep adding to it, add, and you end up with a big code base. Instead, they are in the process of fragmenting it, and the tests, or the test results, is an example of a fragment of Launchpad. So in order to get back on topic of using Python in an unexpected way, this is the context. I will describe a bit how I implemented Launchpad results. So yeah, this is a pathetic attempt to use a sine wave. Now, in order to describe the various technologies used in Launchpad results, there are many ways of doing it, you know, a taxonomy or a tree. So what I decided to do is to write a graph profiler, which enables us to profile the Launchpad results application and graph as a request comes in. So Launchpad results has a web interface. So what we're going to see is we're going to trace what happens when we do a request in the website as it hits various technologies used. So this will start the service, and you see the events happening, which are, this has to happen in presentations. OK, so now it's attempting to load the service, which is not there yet. So now we get the trace. And I'll describe technologies as they go. So the first box shows the results tracker, which is basically just a dispatcher. It just says, hey, we got a request. Where does it go next? It goes to Django. So Django may seem like not unexpected. So basically a double negative. So expected. People want to write a website these days. That's pretty much the first thing they think about. However, in the context of Launchpad, this is somewhat unexpected because Launchpad was written like before Django was popular and uses Zope. It actually used Zope 2 in the beginning and then Zope 3. So trying to participate in a project that is used to using Zope with Django seemed unexpected in this particular context. However, Django is only used here, a very small part of Django is used. It's only used for routing requests to views, and that's it. As we'll see, the next request comes in, it goes through Storm. So for example, Django comes with its own ORM. So instead of using it, we use another ORM called Storm. So there are various ORMs out there. So why pick Storm? Storm is used in Launchpad. So in order to remain consistent with Launchpad, we decided to use Storm. So it's not necessarily the best technology. It's not necessarily the worst technology. There are alternatives like SQL Alchemy and or in Zope ZODB. But Storm was written at the time because the folks at Canonical who came up with it wanted something that could do sharding in a database. So at the time, it seemed like a good idea to implement something new, particularly because participating in SQL Alchemy at the time was difficult. So a bit of history, what happened then? Since then, SQL Alchemy had a lot of community, a lot of participation. SQL Alchemy grew like crazy, and Storm remained the same. So if people had to make the same decision today, they might be more inclined to use SQL Alchemy based on the feature set. But enough said about the ORM. Let's move on. Then the request goes back. Or maybe it's because it's timing out. Indeed, it's timing out. That's fine. There we go. So, OK, we can see the in the background, we see that the web interface came up. But we've got a bunch of little spinner bars happening here. These are AJAX requests being made. So we can see that the dispatcher then, instead of going to Django, went to Laser. That enables me to talk about another technology that's used. So Laser is originally meant, let me get this straight, Linux, Apache, Zope, relational database. Laser is a library written at Canonical for mostly known for exposing a RESTful interface. So it's not very well known, but this is what Launchpad uses for its RESTful interface. So all the APIs here are dispatched to Laser. Then Laser reuses Storm objects. So now we start to see the benefits of having used a different ORM than Django. Now you can have several other technologies potentially use the same model layer without being necessarily married to Django. Then, we've got Zope. So yes, there is also some Zope in this project. So Zope is not just a web framework. It's also a framework for building frameworks. So Zope offers a lot of nice patterns, like adapter patterns, for example, or interfaces. These are very important for scaling an application, and it can be used in any kind of application, whether it be a desktop application or a server-side application without a web interface. Zope interfaces come standalone, and it's a nice way of developing APIs by contract. It's a nice way of formalizing your code in a way that could potentially scale and be used across teams more easily. So if you haven't used Zope interfaces, at least try that. It's a worthwhile investment. And then start looking at other features that Zope provides that are very nice for scaling an application for big projects. Another advantage of using Zope interface is that Laser happens to use Zope interfaces for exposing an API. So let's say I define an interface that has a name, and a first name and a last name attribute. With if I define that in an interface, Laser makes that really trivial to do. So then Zope goes back to Storm, and so forth. And then we end up request, request, request. And we've got a full request. That was about it. That's it. Any questions? Woohoo! It was really clear.
And this is all running on the Launchpad servers, right?
No, that actually can run standalone.
Right, but the idea is to run it on the Launchpad servers, right?
Not yet.
So is there like a team of system admins who are not liking you right now because they're like, oh well, now we have to install Django, or now we have to?
No, it actually it works out quite well. Django is such a common technology nowadays that sysadmins will end up having to cope with it no matter what. But the rest of the technologies are quite similar, and this is just for a web interface, so sysadmins won't mind so much as long as it's not PHP.
Okay.
I'll let your microphone.
Oh, yeah.
And second of all, I'd like to invite Angelique Manella.